Welcome back to Mind Pump TV. I'm your host, Sal DiStefano, and I'm here again with my good friend, the always handsome Max Lugavere, author of the book Genius Foods. So Max, being in the fitness industry and being in health, we're always telling people or hearing from people in our space that alcohol's bad for you. It's always bad for you. And then you read articles that say things like a glass of wine every once in a while, great for your health. It's got, full of antioxidants. It's good for longevity. And I think, is this the alcohol industry promoting this, or not quite sure what to believe? I typically tell people alcohol is probably not great for you, but have a little bit every once in a while, maybe not that big of a deal. What's your take on alcohol and how it affects health, and especially brain health?
Yeah. So, I think we live, we're no longer hunter-gatherers living relatively stress-free existences with our camps, right? Telling stories around the campfire. We live in a time where chronic stress is rampant. And so insofar as alcohol has a pretty potent ability to dissolve stress and act like a social lubricant, because loneliness is also, toxic. It's a modern toxin, I would say. I think alcohol has some potential benefits if you're drinking it moderately, which is 1 to 2 glasses a day for men, 1 glass a day or serving a day for women. But on the other hand, ethanol, which is the compound in alcohol that gives you the buzz, is a neurotoxin. And there was a really interesting study that was published where they found that even moderate drinkers who consumed 5 to 7 servings of alcohol per week, so that's like, one...
That's like 1 or less a day.
Yeah. Per 1 or less per day, over the course of a week, had 3 times the odds of hippocampal atrophy, which is like atrophy of the hippocampus, which is the brain's memory center. It's the most vulnerable structure of the brain first affected, or one of the first affected by Alzheimer's disease. Yeah, so I think alcohol is like one of those things where my preference for people is to find healthy ways of dealing with stress and to challenge yourself to connect with other human beings without the need of, substances like alcohol or others. But if you can't do that, then it's still better than being lonely and crying, super stressed out.
And, when you look at the antioxidants, because I've heard the antioxidant argument for like red wine, like it's full of resveratrol and all these antioxidants. Could you get those same antioxidants if you drank grape juice?
Well, yeah, like resveratrol is also found in balsamic vinegar. It's found in small amounts in pistachios and peanuts, the skins of grapes, things like that. But the truth is, they're in trace quantities.
So it's not even as much as they study or whatever.
Yeah, alcohol might, I don't think anybody really knows, but have a hormetic effect on the body too, just because it is a toxin, but maybe it's, the dose makes the toxin. So maybe small amounts of alcohol actually increase the body's production of certain antioxidants. I don't know. Other types of alcohol have different compounds in them that have shown some benefit. Like I know that whiskey has egalic acid in it, which has been shown to be a cancer fighter. But of course, drinking a lot of alcohol also promotes, tumor, the genesis of tumors. So,
especially liver cancer. That's a major risk for liver cancer.
Yeah. But then again, at the population study, and I think what most healthcare practitioners would recommend is moderate drinking because, it's something that makes you happy, if it's something that makes you happy, if it's something that deepens your relationships with others. And those are non-trivial benefits.
Yeah, it's, I want to ask you how difficult it is for these studies to control for all these different factors, because the way I think about it is if you're looking at people that drink low to moderate levels of alcohol, how do you control for the fact that maybe it's not the alcohol that's giving them the benefit, but it's the fact that the reason why they drank is they went out with their friends and hung out, and people who don't drink at all, it's because they're home alone and they're lonely.
Yeah.
How hard is it to control for? Because most of these studies are these like surveys and stuff.
Oh yeah, their population level, they're poor. It's not easy to study that kind of stuff. There are healthier ways to drink alcohol too. I mean,
Oh, really?
I recommend a cup of water in between each cup of alcohol. And people also, alcohol acts like a diuretic. So it's really important to remember to replace that sodium, that salt that you lose. So I actually, when I get home, I'll either sprinkle some salt on my hand or put it in some water and drink it before I go to bed to rehydrate myself.
That's why I drink alcohol with French fries.
French fries, yeah. Yeah, nice.
To replenish my electrolytes.
But alcohol also overloads the liver, right? Like when the liver is purging alcohol from the system, it kind of puts everything else on hold. So I believe, and there's a study that I cite in the book, that the response to food is exaggerated, like postprandial hypertriglyceridemia basically occurs, like more fat in the blood occurs when you consume fatty foods with alcohol.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, the liver is sort of the body's chief recycling system. It's got hundreds of roles in the body. And so the other thing that I recommend is, and this might be a little bit more controversial, but I always like to drink actually after I've had my dinner, so kind of like on an empty stomach. And you want to exert caution when you do that because you're going to feel the alcohol a lot more, obviously. But to me,
That's how I save money on alcohol.
You save money,
I drink it afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's I guess a good thing too, because in the middle of a meal you've got to, if what you're doing is trying to get a buzz, you're going to have to drink a lot more. So just in terms of like putting less, the area under the curve for alcohol consumption is probably going to be a lot less if you're drinking it after a meal.
Great point. Are there better forms of alcohol than others? Do you know of any in studies? Like, is it better to have the clear alcohols versus the dark ones, and all those?
I definitely don't drink beer, which is liquid bread, essentially. Sorry, beer drinkers. I'm not a fan. I think that it's in terms of like irritating the gut. The combination of gluten and alcohol, it's just, I don't think it's very good for you. I drink red wine. I try to go for organic Pinot Noir, generally speaking, if I'm drinking a glass of wine. The Pinot Noir grape has the thinnest skin, and the skin is what creates the resveratrol, which is essentially a plant defense compound. So you're going to have, it's still trace, but a significantly higher amount of resveratrol in Pinot Noir. And then I'll go for, if I'm not in a wine kind of mood, I'll go for tequila on the rocks or with some soda and a lime.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You sound like a great time.
I mean, I used to drink more, but then hangovers are the worst.
Sure.
So
you ever try the activated charcoal trick?
I don't know if does that work?
It seems to have worked for me the last few times.
Actually, okay, so I did recently have like a few tequilas, and I did have a cocktail afterwards of a little bit of charcoal and acetylcysteine, which is a glutathione precursor.
Yes.
And some magnesium, and I felt great the next day. I did feel great the next day. So I can't guarantee that cocktail prevented my hangover, but I felt really good afterwards. Magnesium is really interesting. There's some really interesting research on magnesium as a prophylactic for noise-induced hearing loss. So if you ever find yourself like in
this is weird.
Yeah, in a super loud environment, they've done a number of tests, randomized controlled trials on people in the military that are exposed to really loud, like jet engines and gunfire and things like that. And they find that magnesium supplementation mitigates the damage to hearing done via loud noise exposure, chronic loud noise exposure. So after if I get dragged out to the club with my friends, and I have a few drinks, I'm taking magnesium afterwards just because I've seen a number of studies that show that magnesium supplementation immediately after loud noise exposure actually can prevent the hearing loss.
So save your hearing, and anecdotally, but it's Max Lugavere, anecdotally helps with the hangover. Yeah. Don't do too much magnesium because it has a laxative effect. And that could be a problem.
Magnesium citrate does, but not magnesium glycinate, which is bound to glycinate, which is an amino acid. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that, because we could have had people doing the wrong kind of magnesium at the club.
Getting the runs at the club? Nobody wants that.
Yeah, in which case you might not have a hangover, but that's not a good time. So
you're thrown out of the club.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Max. Look, share this with your friends who like to drink alcohol, need to hear of this great information from Max. Also subscribe to our channel. We post new videos all the time. And finally, put the comments below if you have any questions. I'll visit periodically to answer those for you. Oh, one more thing. Go to mindpumpfree.com. Check out our free guides on everything.